Hello and welcome to The Exit presented by Flippa. I'm your co-host, Steve McGarry. This is a 30-minute podcast featuring amazing entrepreneurs who have been there and done it. They've built businesses, they've bought businesses, they've sold businesses, and we get to learn front row as to some of the tricks and the tips that they have to share. On this special episode, I sit down with Richard Patey, and we talk about everything from website investing to podcasting and content creation and how he's gone there into Flippa and done an incredible job of now teaching people how to buy and sell businesses on a podcast and a newsletter. But before we jump into this interview, definitely check out my previous interview with Jeff Weiner. He was an incredible guy talking through post-acquisition, what it's like mentally, and how we can work through it together, and talking about that kind of topic is really important. So definitely check that out with the links wherever you're listening to this on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube. Definitely check that out. So on this episode, sitting down with Richard Patey, it was really great to go through some of the things that he's learned in buying and selling all of these different businesses, and now teaching other people to do it is a really fantastic way and a very fulfilling way of making your dream a reality. So I really love having entrepreneurs on like Richard, because he can sit down and say, I started from scratch here, and now I am here teaching people how to do what I did, which was scale up a portfolio of all these amazing online businesses. So without further ado, let's dive into my interview with Richard. What's up, guys? I am here with Richard Patey, the owner of investing.substack.com. How's it going, Richard?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show. Is this going to be one of the very first episodes?
Yeah, you're going to be in the first run, the first group of people.
All right.
Touch the world that is the Flippa community. So it's very exciting to have you on and share your story.
Good stuff.
So diving in, I think one of the things that I really want to touch base on first is what your background is. What brought you to website investing, buying and selling websites? What kind of led you to here?
Well, background in SEO, and quickly realized I did not enjoy client work. So tried to find ways of making money myself, and started, did the 4-hour work week thing. Started trying to create a Muse business. It was a little e-commerce store. I needed to get traffic to it, so I applied what I was doing with client work to the website to get some organic traffic. Realized that was a really tiny niche that I went into, and also realized that I didn't enjoy dealing with customers and shipping products. And so I thought, okay, well, I now know what I don't enjoy doing, but I'm able to rank content and convert people. So affiliate seemed an ideal place for me to focus on, and then focus on building content sites, ranking in Google, sending to affiliate offers, and ended up focused on an area which is software review. And that's where I've had most success. And that's how I got into building and selling sites. I then started working with investors. One of the guys that bought one of my sites wanted to keep me on as the operator and continue building up that asset, and we would split the upside. And we did that, and we flipped the site a year later together. I then had experience of working with other investors doing similar things, and ended up kind of now reporting on the space as a media play at the Substack publication. Have a podcast and have some newsletters that go out for free subscribers and paid subscribers. And that's the short story in terms of how I got into website investing. And then I'm interested in investing elsewhere, outside of digital, but also domain investing I've been looking into and starting to enjoy. And investing generally is something that I like. And I've also done a bit of crypto. I know you've also got a podcast in that. You've got a background, and I got into crypto in 2017 or just before. So that was a fun time. So interested in investing generally, and website investing is still something that I'm doing less and less of that because it's pretty active. Maybe we can talk about that. Other assets require a lot less operation.
Hmm.
But yeah, that was my way in, was SEO. Yeah, as the person operating and building them. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I found that a lot of people that start investing in alternative asset classes, they don't really stop. They they just kind of keep going into all of the non non-mainstream asset classes after they find one where they're like, whoa, has really explosive returns. I need to find something else that people aren't really paying attention to right now.
Yeah, it's just a way of more quickly growing your capital, and that's what I'm focused on.
Mhm.
If I've hit my capital goal, I wouldn't be as active in these asset classes. I would be more traditionally diverse and go into real estate and things with a very low yield. But right now, I'm focused on things that have, um, very significant upside, and then I also like to limit the downside as well. So yeah, digital assets, websites, domains, crypto, they all have very high upside.
Mhm.
And if you learn to manage the downside, they're very good places to play in, and to build some wealth in. Yeah.
Mhm. So that first jump that you had where you were doing client work with SEO and things like that, and then you started kind of seeing some traction on the affiliate side of things. I'd like to talk a little bit about that in terms of you found your niche in the kind of software side of things, talking about these different types of products through Amazon affiliates or different affiliate programs and offers. What was that process like? What led you to eventually find that niche? Were you testing various different niches with keywords that were the most trendy at the time, or how did you kind of come across that?
Yeah. So I after I moved away from SEO clients around 2013. I sold my SEO clients to another agency, um, but then soon needed to build cash flow quickly again, and so I needed to come up with some kind of other service offering.
Hmm.
I didn't want to do SEO again, and at the time I was learning about landing pages and sales funnels, and so this was around 2014, 15. ClickFunnels had just launched,
Hmm.
and I got in as an early user of that, and sold a lot of sales funnel services to customers and clients, anywhere from $500, $1,000 funnels on the low end. So I did one high ticket $25,000 funnel on the high end, and really got into that. And this was all using ClickFunnels as the software, and I was offering a service, element on top of that. And so every customer, every client that I built a funnel for, I was earning an affiliate commission on ClickFunnels.
Mm.
They were paying 40% of the time. I'm not sure if it's that high anymore. And so that started just building up. That started to become material because affiliate commissions, they're recurring, they compound, and that can start to become significant. So, I probably started focusing on it when it was getting into, 4 figures a month in recurring commissions. And I thought, this is more sustainable, more predictable, and this can actually be an asset. Whereas, service work, I was doing it myself. I hired someone to fulfill the funnels, but it was just not a business that I wanted to do.
Hmm.
But every month that went past, the affiliate commissions kept increasing. So I then pivoted out. I stopped all the service offering. I turned the site into an affiliate site. So the homepage became just a big squeeze page. I offered free funnel templates. That page converted at 40%, which sounds insane, but if you've got a good offering, and you set up a good squeeze page, you can kind of get this high conversion. So I was building a sizable email list, and adding hundreds of new people a month, and a percentage of those were signing up to ClickFunnels, and did that for a couple of years, and then sold the business, sold the affiliate accounts,
Hmm.
and that was the way into it. I was working with ClickFunnels. I focused on that one. I added some other offers. I was promoting Samcart as well. Added a couple of others, and then sold the business on with a brokerage. And so that was the way into it. And so at the time, I was one of the first sites focused on sales funnel review software. so that helped. The competition was very low,
Mm,
so it was relatively easy getting people into the software at that time.
got it.
So yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't too deliberate. It was just where I currently was at that time. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, like you nailed the funnel space and the sales process. So you figured, okay, there's going to be other people coming in to do something similar, and they need to see a review site, which makes perfect sense to address the hole there. I love that, where you've kind of learned the space by operating in it and then figuring out, all right, how can I actually, as this space scales, because ClickFunnels really kind of sparked a whole new industry, right? With all these different sales funnels.
Yeah, it really blew up. Yeah, yeah. I think got very competitive. Everyone was writing a ClickFunnels review article, and now it's pretty hard to rank on the first page. You need a very powerful domain, and you need to invest quite a bit into it. At the time, it was relatively easy. I was also ranking for ClickFunnels brand search term as well, so that helped.
Hmm.
So if you can get in early with a new product, that definitely helps. But
And
software, yeah,
you briefly mentioned that you had sold clients to an agency, and I often tell people, about all different types of ways as a business or even as a contractor, you can generate revenue if you have some cash flow, just in lump sums. So I've heard of a lot of people that, during this whole crazy global pandemic, they'll sell receivables. If they have quite a lot of invoices and receivables sitting on their balance sheet, they actually sell them to investors that, get the cash up front at a discount, and then they can move over the kind of debt to an investor and things like that. So I like that you touched on it, where you had sold customers to an agency, and I think that that level of creativity, a lot of people don't really think that way, when they're thinking about ways that they can generate some cash flow in, let's say, a pinch like currently with small businesses suffering all over the world.
yeah,
I think that that's a really cool thing that you touched on, where you kind of bundle together all these clients that are paying, and you say, hey guys, I'm done with this business, take this over. I really like that.
yeah, yeah. A lot of people would just if they had enough, I think would just kind of cancel the retainers and close the website, close the business.
Hmm.
Um, I was working with an agency at the time who was actually fulfilling it for me. So it was they may have even I think they even started the conversation. Could we actually just take them on, because I was paying them half. And they were interested in scaling. But yeah, a lot of people that get their own clients as a solo operator may not realize that they actually do have an asset that they can sell. You can sell the business, the name, the website, or you can sell your monthly retainers to a bigger agency. And so yeah, maybe that was the first time that I built and sold an asset. And thinking back, I haven't really thought about it like that.
Hmm.
Um, but a little e-commerce store that I started, that was the first one that I ended up selling, and through Empire Flippers. That was the one that kind of kickstarted everything else, and
Hmm.
I realized that I could build and sell online businesses, and yeah,
Yeah, it really
focus there.
opens up
Yeah,
Pandora's box once you once you realize that you can sell an asset that you build digitally to
yeah,
somebody at a multiple. It really kind of gives you that aha moment where you can start generating even more cash than you would over the course of 2 years with something. And that's a really empowering feeling. So anyone that's listening that's brand new, they have a blog, let's say a content site. You mentioned that you worked a lot with content and SEO. Let's say someone listening has a blog that they have been working on for 5 years, generates $500 a month. What do you think, from a buyer's perspective, from an investor's perspective, what are the key things that you would want to see? Like me, as a brand new blogger, I've never sold anything before in my life, that's like a business of any kind.
hmm
And what would you want to see in terms of, as a package, when you're messaging with me?
In terms of a private deal or a listing on a marketplace.
On a listing on Flippa, for example, if you went
Okay,
through
yeah,
there, or even through a brokerage,
Hmm.
anywhere. It could be a private deal, it could be a marketplace, it could be
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, as a buyer, as an investor, I would want, a responsive seller. So any questions asking, to get back uh, in a decent time frame, uh, and honest answers, and you're trying to figure out whether the seller is legitimate, whether you can trust them. Obviously, assets are taken in escrow, and that helps. But you want to have a good feeling about the seller.
Hmm.
But as an investor, I mean, you want a clueless seller. You want a seller that is not aware of the potential of the asset that they're selling. So maybe they're not monetizing the traffic too well, and you can see upside with that. Maybe they haven't optimized the pages for SEO, and you know that you can improve traffic and therefore improve revenue quickly. So you're looking for under optimization. That's what you are looking for. Um, a lot of first time sellers are not aware of the upside that they're leaving on the table, and every time I've gone through a sales process, it's made me realize that there was definitely more that I could have done. um, so yeah, as an investor, you just want an honest seller, and who hasn't gone through the process before, who isn't as clued up, maybe isn't pricing it as aggressively as they could.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, you just want to deal with someone who's genuine and is honest. And if you see upside, that's what you're looking for.
Hmm. And are you looking for, I think one of the amazing things about buying and selling websites is that there's all these different potentials for seller financing. I think that's something that a lot of people skip over, where you don't have to necessarily have all of this, 2 years of revenue, let's say, up front to purchase a business. It could be 1 year of, cash flow that you're doing that's upfront, and then let's say 50% of net profit each month to pay back towards the principal that you've offered. Have you worked on any deals with kind of clever financing that you could talk about, or any kind of fun deal structures that beginners could use as a competitive edge?
I have not. It's everything I've done as a buyer or seller has just been in cash.
Got it.
So yeah, nothing creative to share. You typically see that at larger asset value when you're dealing with anything 6 figures and above, but
Hmm.
below that, it's probably not something um, that's going to work out too well for you, because there's a lot of people with a lot of cash at that level who will just come in with an all cash offer. So I like picking up, like micro assets, real small deals, 5K deals, 10K deals max,
Hmm.
buying for the content, buying for the ranking and some potential. But yeah, when I'm selling, I also just want all cash. Um, so yeah.
Got it. So 5K, 10K deals is your sweet spot where you're always looking. And in terms of what would the monthly gross and profit be for something that was 10K, let's say?
Yeah, I mean, ideally nothing. So I'm looking to pick up what Flippa would call starter sites. Um, I really, it doesn't matter whether it's generating revenue or not. I just care about the fact that it's ranking, it's indexed in Google, it's ranking, it's showing some potential. I buy sites based on how I value the content, based on the backlink profile, and then how well traffic is spread out across the site.
Hmm.
So ideally, very little to no revenue is what I like to pick up, and then you optimize the existing content, you add new content, you add uh, some new backlinks, or maybe you combine a couple of domains together. That's the area that I play in. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. So content focus specifically. Have you experimented around with e-commerce or any of these other sort of niches?
No, so everything I do for the last few years and currently is still content websites.
Hmm.
So making money from affiliate, from ads. I don't do any e-commerce or SaaS or um, uh, I'm not doing any digital products either. So my main business now is the publication on Substack, and that is a paid subscription.
Hmm.
So like paid media and subscribers, yeah, I really like as a business model. But in terms of buying and building and selling assets, it's still all content websites. I can see a time in the near future where I'm going to try e-commerce again, but that's only because I've recently fell in love with specialty coffee, and I'm buying a lot myself, and I've been learning a lot about it. And I think it's pretty likely that I'm going to set up a subscription coffee business at some point in the near future.
Hmm.
Based in the UK, so it will be UK one. For no other reason, maybe just a business expense coffee would be a good thing
Yeah.
because I'm buying too much. But right now, yeah, it's just content and affiliate. That's what I do. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and I think with content sites, I've had quite a few, and relatively smaller deals. And I think that one of um, the the sort of underlying risk exposures that I realized early on was Google being the main driver of a business like that. And I think that if they change their algorithm, very similar to like an e-commerce company that's overexposed to Facebook ads, as their main driver of revenue. I think
Hmm.
there's all these sort of intricacies to each business that if you have a good diversification of traffic, you can definitely scale it up, I think. And in terms of your experience with the ebbs and flows of Google and the organic traffic coming
Hmm.
through, is there any sort of tips or tricks that you've learned that could really be beneficial to somebody that's like, okay, I love what Richard's talking about with a content site. I want to get started on, let's say, gymnastics apparel or something like that. How would you mitigate that risk, like that exposure to Google, or can you?
Yes, I mean you can focus on other traffic sources to try and diversify. You do social stuff. You can,
Mm-hmm.
if it's a visual niche that you're in, you can diversify with a bit of Pinterest. You can build an email list and bring back people that way to your site. Um, but in essence, a content site is reliant on Google, and that is the game that we play. It's also why I don't like to hold assets. I like to flip as soon as possible, as soon as the majority of the upside that I can generate is realized. That's when I like to sell. So I don't like to hold because of that risk.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the game that we play. So if you are holding for the longer term, you will want to diversify. You will want to build an audience um, of people that will return to your website, of people that you can remarket to, that you can directly communicate with an email list. All of these things are good things, but in terms of like a pure affiliate play, um, I would say just focus on Google. Know that that's a big risk, and obviously don't rely on these sites for income. If you do, you need to have a pretty sizable portfolio, so that if any one or two gets hit by a Google update, you're going to have enough income from the other sites. Um, and that's the nature of it. If I do this e-commerce coffee play, I'm probably not going to try and rank any content. It's probably going to be paid acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but with content sites that we are reliant on Google traffic, that will uh, that's the majority traffic source. And yeah, the Google updates over the last year have been pretty aggressive, and often they can make not a lot of sense. So yeah, you need to mitigate that risk in terms of owning a range of sites, or holding them for the shortest amount of time. And you can buy a website off Flippa, you can improve conversion rate, you can add some tweaks, and you can flip it 6 to 9 months later.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, hopefully there may not have been a sizable Google update or anything that could have negatively hit your site in that time. So yeah, that's my perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the comparison to real estate as well, where you buy, let's say, um, a not so not so good house currently, and then you fix it up and make it, you can sell a vision on it and then flip it in 6 months, 3 months, whatever it is, however long it takes to buy a house and flip it. I think that there's so many similarities there in terms of the the mindset that an investor has to have coming into it. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I interviewed Cody Sanchez, and she did a great job of articulating, if you're buying, let's say, a six-figure deal in a niche, one of the things that you can do, and you touched on this briefly, that seems to be a consistent trend amongst investors that I like, is that when you have, let's say, a core business, like in her case it was like a cannabis business. I don't remember if it was a news site or not, but it was like a core business that was a big portfolio, part of her portfolio. So having these additional businesses that could be bought at a low, let's say, 4 or 5 figures, add to that business. So you could buy something that's generating a ton of traffic from Google, and then you could add it to your portfolio and even 301 redirect to your main business, or have it linked to your main business and create your own little ecosystem around a core business and have all these together. So in your experience, you mentioned it briefly that you could buy a four-figure site that has a good backlink profile, and you're kind of adding it to different businesses. Could you give us like an example of something that has really worked well with that in the past, where you've had a core site that was generating some revenue and then you added to it with other ones, or are you mainly just flipping it before that even is an opportunity?
And I'm doing it with one software review site right now, and so I've done a number of 3-run redirects, but never on a site that has any significant revenue.
Hmm.
So I would do it at the beginning, and that's what I'm doing right now. I've got a good 3 to 4 different domains with good link profiles in the software review space, and I've got 131 to a main site right now. That's it's only got about 10,000 page views a month. It's got very good content, so I commissioned a good amount of content on this. I guess maybe I'll do the full history. So the main site was an abandoned site in the SERPs. I picked it up for just $2,000, no revenue, um, 50 pages or so in the Google index. No great content, but I bought it for the link profile. It was like DR in the 40s. Strong links, genuine site, just abandoned by the owner. So picked that up for the link profile. Have commissioned 50,000 words from a writer that's now on that site, and that's going pretty well. I've bought an age domain from a company called Odys. Our domain's Your SEO, ODYS. That was in this software review space with a pretty decent backlink profile. I have 301 that to a category page on this website. And that's going okay, but I'm waiting for it to take off. If it doesn't take off, then I'm going to be rearranging everything, because I recently acquired another website for $5,000 for the content. It also has an age domain with a pretty good backlink profile, but that one was bought for the content. So in total, I've got about 200 to 250,000 words in this niche. 3 different domains with backlinks, and I'm now trying to figure out the best way of structuring it. So yeah, this is a process I'm going through at the moment. I haven't cracked it yet. And it's a waiting game. This is the thing. But if any of these sites was generating insignificant revenue, I wouldn't be doing this. It would just be too much of a risk.
Hmm.
But because there's very low affiliate commissions being generated at the moment, and it's a very competitive space that I'm going after. If you looked up in Ahrefs, like the keywords, keyword difficulty in the 50s or 60s, it's the space where it will take months to get to page 1. The 2 main pages I have are currently on page 2, which is good, but it hasn't broken through yet, and I'm just kind of waiting. I'm going to wait another month to see whether it's going to carry on and it's going to break through to page 1. If it doesn't, I'm actually going to move all content over to just one domain in a different configuration, and hopefully that will blow up. That was the original plan. but with timing, it's ended up this way. So I'm definitely no expert with this, but I've got some. I've been through one redirecting sites for a while and understand the process of how to do it.
Mhm.
And I'm just waiting for the right configuration for it to take off. And it's just a waiting game. Um, so yeah, hopefully
Nice.
that was useful.
Yeah, I
But
love that.
building off on age domains, it definitely works. I mean, I've got 1 to 10,000 page views a month from zero within uh, within 6 to 12 months, but it's still not broken out where it hasn't got to where it needs to get to yet. If it was a less competitive space, I think this would have been a lot easier. Um, but this needs a lot of authority to really crack.
Hmm.
Um, so the content is as good as it needs to be. I found a good writer, and but yeah, once the main pages get to page one, I think it's going to take off. But trying to find the right combination of domain of where to place that content is what I'm trying to figure out at the moment. And if nothing happens in a month's time, I'm just going to change everything up again.
Got
So
it.
I guess it's kind of like I'm hacking Google by doing this, but there's no downside either because I can liquidate everything that I've bought right now for the domains, the content, the rankings for a similar amount or even more money than I paid for these websites. I could sell them as starter sites, and someone else could take them on and look to build them out. So that's what I mean by very little downside. I bought well. If you were to try and create the 200,000 words of content, um, it would probably cost more than the liquidation price for everything that I acquired. So if even when this takes off, I'm not going to be selling what I have for less than six figures. That's the upside. The downside is I can liquidate for $10,000 and uh, pretty quickly and walk away. So yeah, that's the space I like to play in. Yeah.
Got it. So the raw numbers would be you're in net maybe 7 or 8,000, let's say, with your content, the 250,000 words, buying the domains, everything like that. You're in somewhere around, I don't know, let's say 5 to 8,000. You could liquidate for 10,000, or you have this like real asymmetric return where it's like just
Yeah.
six figures up there. Um, that's really really interesting, and I like that we can use some actual figures because that helps people really understand. Because for newcomers, they're like, okay, why it's not making any money, so why is he focusing on building out all these this SEO profile for these businesses? But a lot of people don't realize that a business in that niche would be the one that would buy it at the six-figure range, where they would say, all right, well, this is generating a ton of revenue. And a great example was the mattress review site that got acquired by Casper years ago, where the guy was just reviewing mattresses,
Mm-hmm.
and they bought his site for, it was seven figures. I know it was a high seven-figure deal, and he was just creating great content in that niche. So that would classify as one of those, don't focus on the revenue that early on, build out this really robust link structure, and then you have this insane upside where it's like a 10x potential upside.
Yeah, it's got to be at least 10x. That's the goal. Otherwise, it's just not worth the attention.
Mm-hmm.
And there would be other assets. With domain investing, domain investors look for 10x as well, and there's no work involved, which is why it's something that I've been looking into um, for in terms of that aspect. So yeah, with website investing, it needs to be at least 10x for it to be worth your time. But you don't need to acquire these sites. You can build out from scratch. That's what I started off doing, and then you can sell for six figures. But when you're buying, when you're investing, you've got to kind of get that spread. And And that's why I don't like buying revenue generating sites, because you do have that, you're buying the Google risk.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, I like to buy potential. I don't like to buy what's already something that, that someone has already got working. I like to be the person that that actually gets the site to decent revenue, because you've just got so much lower downside.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can do this with relatively small amounts of capital, um, and it's yeah, it can be a fun space. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way to tie this off, is that a lot of people mistake this for something that takes 6, 7 figures to get involved in. They just assume that it's a like a very unobtainable thing to buy a business, and they assume that it takes a large amount of capital. And I think that's one of the things that I really like about talking to great buyers and sellers like yourself, that really demystify that. They break down that thought of, you're buying websites for $2,000, $5,000, and you have the potential to sell them for 6 figures. It's just it's a great thing to allow the average person to get involved in this space. And that's one of the things that I'm really passionate about with this space, is that the average mom and pop can get involved in this still. And I think that's going to slowly and gradually change. These things are going to go up in way more value over the course of the next decade. But that's kind of it for the
Cool.
overview. But I really wanted to kind of lay out the red carpet. Where can people learn more about what you're working on? I know you have a newsletter now. Where can people learn more from you?
Yeah, everything I'm doing right now is at a publication on a platform called Substack, and it's at investing.substack.com. So there's a weekly Monday newsletter, which I'm going to be getting out today's. We're speaking on a Monday, so every Monday it recaps what's gone on in the world of website investing, and then there's other additional benefits for paid subscribers as well. And then there's a weekly podcast on Fridays as well. So
Excellent.
that's yeah, a summary of what I do, my week, and then what's also been going on in the world of websites here.
Excellent. Well, thanks again so much for coming on, Richard.
Thanks for having me. Good to talk to you. Cheers.